Today's lesson's on absolute value. Let's look at this little example first. Jay lives 1.2 miles west of Patrick Henry. Ben lives 1.2 miles east of Patrick Henry. Who lives further away? Well, we can see by this that they live the same distance away. So you can be the same distance away, but not be at the same point. Look back, can you remember the definition of absolute value from Algebra 1? I think that definition was the absolute value is the distance from zero a number is on the number line. That number is always positive. Distance can never be negative. It's always positive. So let's look. We're at 0 and we walk 4 steps to the right. We get to positive 4. If we go back to 0 and walk 4 steps to the left, we get to negative 4. We still walk 4 steps in both directions. So the absolute value of negative 4 and positive 4 are the same. The symbol that we have is the absolute value of x. These are the brackets around the variable. Definition of absolute value. If x is positive, then the absolute value is the x, is the number. So what's the absolute value of 3? 3. Now, if x is negative, then the absolute value of x is going to be the opposite of that number. So what's the absolute value of negative 4? Or what's the opposite of negative 4? Positive 4. We have the absolute value of negative 8. Since that value is negative, what's the opposite of negative 8? Positive 8. Second example, absolute value of 4. Since 4 is positive, we just say the absolute value of 4 is 4. Now you can try the next 2 examples. Absolute value of 15. 15 is positive, so the absolute value is 15. Absolute value of negative 23. Did you get 23? Well, let's see how we would get that. Since negative 23 is negative, what's the opposite of negative 23? Positive 23. Now let's look at evaluating absolute values. Think of the bars as grouping symbols. So evaluate absolute value of 9x minus 3 plus 5 equals negative if x is negative 2. First step would be to substitute negative 2 for x. Treat these bars just as you would treat them if they were parentheses. So we go inside the parentheses, or in this case, go inside the bars. We're going to do 9 times negative 2. And we're going to subtract negative 18 minus 3. What kind of number do we have inside the absolute value? Positive or negative? We have negative number, so we're going to do what's the opposite of negative 21? Positive 21. And we have 21 plus 5 is 26. Let's look at 2 more. Evaluate if x equals negative 4 and y equals 3. What would your first step be? Right. Substitute. Two times negative 4. Subtract 3 times 3. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. 3 times 3 is 9. Negative 8 subtract 9. Negative 17. Down our bars. What kind of number do we have inside the absolute value? Negative number. So when we have negative number, we do the opposite of negative 17, which is positive 17. Let's go over to number 2. First step is substitute. Absolute value of negative 4. Since that's negative, opposite of negative 4 is positive 4. Step 1, we have to simplify first. Negative 2 times 6 is negative 12. And we have another absolute value. What's the absolute value of negative 12? Since the value inside the bars is negative, we are going to take the opposite of negative 12, which is positive 12. 4 minus 12 is negative 8.